Hi everyone, and thanks very much for watching. As usual, I really do appreciate it. Well, last weekend we were wild camping up above Lynmouth and our water pump failed, which meant we were without water for a day or so. Well, to be honest, we had plenty of water, we just had to ladle it out of the tank with a cup. So today my job is to replace it, and I thought it might be quite a good idea if I filmed it so you can see how I'm going to go about doing that. Now, the pump in Ermintrude here is a submersible pump, whereas many of you will have inline pumps. So the video isn't going to be applicable to all of you, but you may find some bits of it useful anyway. Now today, Ermintrude is going to be the star of the show, so I'm going to be behind the camera, so this is the last you're going to see of me. Sighs of relief all round, I think. Right, so I finished rebuilding a shed, so my next task is to replace the water pump in Ermintrude. So in our 96 Swift, it is under the seat in the dining area, so I get on, take the seat out, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so the seats are out the way. I've taken the table out as well just to give myself a bit more access. And what we need to do is get in behind there. I don't know whether you can see it, I'll light it up in a minute. And that is where all the water connections are. So we're going to get in there and I'll point out the bits and pieces, and then we'll get started on getting the pump itself out. Okay, we're now looking down behind the tank to all the connectors. The top white one is the one we're looking at the moment. That's for the pump itself, takes the wire in, it's sealed. The one next to it on the right hand side, if I can bring my finger across, just about there, is the water out. So that's what the pump pumps out through, that one there. And if we come across the right a bit more, that's an overflow. And then down the bottom, another important one, you can just see it there, is a tap. Now, if you're going to be working in your water tank, you're going to need to drain the water out. So you'll have one of those somewhere in your rig as well. Now, obviously, in your motorhome, they aren't going to look the same. And because your motorhome is undoubtedly going to be newer, it won't look as manky in there either. But essentially that's what it will have. Okay, here we go. So my first job is to remove the outlet pipe, which is the one in the middle there. So these are easy to do. You'll probably have something very similar. There's a little plastic gland here that you can probably see. Just push that in and then pull that out. So now that one's disconnected. What I now need to do is remove or disconnect the water pump electrics. So that's simply just two spade terminals, so they'll just come out quite nicely. Now obviously I'm going to have to put new ones on the other ones, and now I'll just loosen this gland nut here so that it releases its grip on the cable itself. Okay. Now I have already drained the tank, so you don't need to see that, but that's quite obviously all you do is turn the tap if you've got one. You may find you've got a bit of water left in the tank, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. So the next job I'm going to do, and I've already loosened it, is to show you what the water outlet connector looks like. So it's a tank connector, which means you probably just see there. I'll just tilt the video a little bit. You can just see, let it focus, the nut there. So this is the one that holds it onto the tank itself. Now you might not have to take this out. I don't. I'm just showing you what it is just in case you do. So simply undo that with some adjustable spanners, and I'll take it out and show you what it looks like. Okay, I've taken the nut and the sealing washer off, and as you can see, that's now pretty loose. I can push that through, but before I do that, I'm going to just pull the cables through for the pump so that you don't have to delay too long. Now, I tend to put on disposable surgical gloves because the gorgeous Mrs. Moho Jonty likes to make sure her water is extremely clean, so when we're doing this I put the gloves on and try and keep it as clean as possible. So what we need to do is just stick one hand in there and gently pull them through. They might take a bit of a fiddle to get through because the hole itself is quite small, but they should go through with a bit of jiggery pokery. There we go. And now we can just wiggle this out. There we go. So what we've got now, I'll take the pump out. So there's the pump. So you can see it's a Riker pump. I tend to buy a good quality one. Now I've already disconnected it from the fitting that you saw me undo just now. So I'm going to take that fitting out and show you how it all fits together. So there we go. So I hope you can see that because I'm the wrong side of the camera, but exactly the same kind of fitting. It can be quite fiddly to get your fingers in there, but as you can see, what you do, so I can put it together. So I'll just push back in there like that, but it won't come out. But it will come out. I just use my fingernails, hold that up. Oh, I pulled it out of there. But there you go. So it comes out. So that won't come out. As soon as I push that in like that, it will come out. So that's how you get those fittings undone. It's not always obvious. Now, on my pump, I've got a bit of blue plastic connector to connect the pump itself to the spigot on the flange connector. So I'll just get that bit of blue pipe off because we're going to need that, and we'll crack on with the next bit. Right, so that's got my rubber adapter tube off, and here's my new pump. So as I said, it's a pretty good quality pump. It's a German make, Reich, and as you can see, it's 15 litres per minute, and yeah, it should fit straight on. It's not critical what pump you have. If you've got an inline pump, you can choose what you like. I tend to buy these sorts. They're a bit more expensive. This one's about £30, but you can get cheaper ones, but I really don't want to be digging around in the tank too often changing them, so that's why I go for this one, because usually if you don't leave them running, they last for a long time. Oh, forgot to say, as you can see at the bottom there, they don't come with any terminals, so I'm going to have to obviously get out of its packaging and put a couple of spade terminals on. Okay, the spade terminals are on. I have got a proper crimper, but I can't find it. But if you haven't got a crimper for spade terminals, just use some mole grips. They work just as well, to be perfectly honest. And obviously you can pick those spade terminals up anywhere. Tool station, screw fix, that kind of thing. Also, if you've got the room, just feed the cable through the tank connector before you put the terminals on, because they'll be difficult to get through otherwise. Right, next job is to put the bit of blue adapter back on there, and then we'll get the pump in. There we are. So we'll just put the Jubilee clip back on. That should be tight enough. And I will just stick the tank connector in there, if we can get it in. Sometimes it's a bit tight. There we go. It doesn't need to be on too tightly because it's not going to. It doesn't produce much pressure when the tanks. So it's off when the taps are closed, and when the taps are open, there's not that much pressure. So get it as far as you can. So the good thing about these strainer pumps is that they can go at any angle, so you don't have to worry about it sitting upright. So let's get that tank connector back in. She goes. Let's stick the washer back on. There we go. So that is pretty much it. I'll tighten that up later because you don't want to see me messing about with an adjustable spanner. So all I need to do now is put I don't know whether you can see it from here, but what I'm going to be doing now is just pushing the outlet pipe back into the thing. I'll show you in a second. So right, the tank connector's back in. I'll tighten it up later, so all I really need to do now is connect the pump back up to the electrics and obviously the outlet pipe, and then we'll see if it works. There we go, that's all connected. Mrs. Moho Jonty is outside wondering what I'm doing. Now I just need to connect the spade terminals up. What I should have said earlier, and what I did do earlier, was take a photograph before I disconnected the spade terminals. So I know that the brown one goes in with my orange wire, like so, and I know that the neutral goes in the purple wires. So there we go, just got to do this one up. There we go, that will stop it leaking. So there's a little rubber gland in there that clamps onto the cable. So we're ready to test it, but I've got to fill the tank up first. Right, the tank is nicely filled up. Let's switch the pump on and see what happens. Let's try a tap. Pretty good to me. It's cold and hot. Ah, I'm happy with that. And really, that's all there is to it. Once again, squinting because of the sunshine, but that's it. So that's how to change a submersible pump, at least in a Swift Royale. Your rig is going to be similar if you've got a submersible pump, but it might take a bit of sort of jiggery pokery to align things up with what I've got. But thanks very much for watching. As always, please subscribe if you feel so inclined. You can just click the button down on the bottom right of your screen and click on the little bell if you want to be notified when I next do a video. But we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.